So, you've decided to install Linux. Maybe you're sick and tired of Windows or Mac, or just want to try out Linux for fun. Yeah, good idea. You've come to the right video. I'm going to show you how. Now, the first thing you need to do before you install Linux is choose which distribution of Linux you want to install. If you already know what you want to install, go to this time code here, which will get right to the installation process. Or, if you need help deciding which version of Linux you want, check out the description in the video somewhere up here or wherever. And I've made a video in the past about how to choose a Linux distribution. Or, stick around and I'll show you a nice, neat website where you can choose a Linux distro. So, let's get started. Okay, so if you're unsure what Linux distribution to install, this website might help, distrochooser.de. Simply complete a quick questionnaire and you'll get a suggestion as to which Linux distributions will probably suit you. It's a very quick chit test. You can choose what you want to use Linux for. Like, I want games, I want daily use, proceed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, one thing you might want to make sure you choose well is what kind of graphical user interface you like, whether you want something that's Windows-like or something that's vaguely macOS-like, because this will kind of determine whether you recommended KDE-based, GNOME-based, or other distributions. If you have no idea what KDE and GNOME are, don't worry, just pick your favorite from here. And when you're done, you'll get an update. And as you can see here, I got a bunch of options here. OpenSUSE, Zorin, Elementary, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and if I keep scrolling down, there's also, Fedora here. It tells you why it's suitable for you and why it may not be suitable for you. So if you're totally new to Linux, you might want to browse the homepage of each of these distributions, to pick one that's good for you. Now, in my case, I'm not new to Linux, so I know exactly what I want to install, which is Fedora, which is actually one of my recommendations. So I'm just going to go to the homepage and download it. The latest release of Fedora is 38 at the time of making this video. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. And there are multiple versions of Fedora. The one you want for daily use is Fedora Workstation. I'm going to click download now. And there we go. Now, in order to install an operating system, you have to boot your computer from it. And the easiest way to do that, with Fedora at least, is to use the Fedora Media Writer. If you're fine with using ISO files, they're also available here, but I find the Fedora Media Writer even easier. So what you need to do is download it for Windows, Mac, or Linux. I'm going to download the Mac one, and then just install that as usual. So in my case, since I'm on a Mac, I'm just going to get Fedora Media Writer, which I've opened, and drag it to my applications folder. That's done, and now I'm going to launch it, and here it is. Okay. Now from here, I can choose to download the ISO directly. So the ISO is the type of file you need to boot Linux, or you can download it automatically. I'm fine with download automatically, so I'm going to click next. Make sure you choose Fedora Workstation here. Click next. You can choose the version that you want. You can choose your hardware architecture. Okay, now just in case you're installing Linux on a Mac with an Apple Silicon chip, M1, M2, whatever, you may want to choose ARch64. Okay, so that stands for ARM, and it's what Apple uses. Everything else should be fine, Intel. Okay, now you need to plug in a USB drive, which I'm going to do now. And there you go, the Media Writer detects it. That's my pen drive here. Make sure you choose the right one, okay? I'm also going to say delete download after writing, since I don't need it. And I'll click download and write. So this is going to download Fedora and write it to that USB disk. Okay, so just wait for that to finish. Okay, so plug in the pen drive to your computer or other USB disk or card or whatever and boot it up. And you should see a menu like this. Now, of course, exactly what you see depends on which distribution of Linux you've decided to install and download. I'm using Fedora. So I'm just going to say start Fedora Workstation Live version 38 because YOLO. And we'll wait for this thing to boot up. Here we are. Now, most, but not all, Linux distributions actually start to a live environment. So whilst this looks like an installer, this is actually proper Fedora and you can start using it without making any changes to your computer. This lets you try out Linux, try out the distribution you've picked, see if you like it, see if your hardware's working, and if everything's okay, then you can commit to installing it. Now, this is not my first rodeo, so I'm just gonna go ahead and click Install Fedora, and the installation is super simple. Okay, so first I'm gonna choose my language, English, United Kingdom, yep, continue. Okay, now Fedora's installer is historically one of the worst installers that humanity has ever come up with. But it has improved a bit over the years. If you're installing some other type of Linux, you'll probably have an easier time. But if you are installing Fedora, the one thing you'll want to choose is here, Installation Destination. And you'll want to make sure that you click Done then. And that is what enables you to continue to the next step. Is this good UX? Absolutely not. But is it necessary? Absolutely. I also like to click Encrypt My Data. Okay, so I get all the data on my disk encrypted automatically. So I'll click Done. And since I chose Encrypt My Data, I need to set a password, which I'm going to do here. There we go, save passphrase. And as you can see now, the begin installation button is actually enabled. So we'll click begin installation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You just need to let the installer do its thing. And when it's done, we can boot into our fresh system. Okay, that took exactly 4 minutes in my case. And as you can see, it's complete. So all I need to do now is click finish installation. And this will basically reboot the system and boot up into my freshly installed Fedora. I'm instantly presented with a password screen, which will allow Fedora to unlock the disk and continue booting. And here we are, we're now running Fedora from the disk. And so now a welcome screen will show up, nice and easy. Okay, start setup. So do we want to enable location services and automatic problem reporting? Yeah, whatever. Now, this might be important, okay? So if you're a free software nut, then you don't want to do this, because what this does is it enables Fedora to download software which is not necessarily free as in open source, okay? But for everybody else, you'll want to click this button because there may be drivers for your system and other software you'll want to use that are otherwise not available. So I'm going to click next here. Now I can connect my online accounts, which I'm actually going to skip for now since I'm going to cover more about online accounts in an upcoming video. So I'm just going to click skip. And then now we want to set our name. I always like my username to be just my name. You can also set a pic here. If you need to log into your work account or whatever, you can use enterprise login here to authenticate with Active Directory or LDAP. Next, now we'll need to set a password, which... There we go. Next. All done. Start using Fedora Linux. Okay, we also get a tour for GNOME 44. Now, if you don't know what GNOME is the graphical user interface that Fedora uses by default. It's what you're seeing on screen. You may want to click Take a Tour, which will kind of show you the highlights of Fedora. You know, like getting an overview, pressing the super key, that's the Windows key for most people. That gives you an overview of your open apps. You can see it here. Type to search. Okay, so if I go here, back to my overview, and I start typing the name of an app, you can see it comes up, and I can just press enter to launch it. You can use workspaces. So yeah, that's a cool feature of GNOME. So let's say I want to launch Firefox, but in a different desktop, I can just drag it here. And voila, Firefox launches here. And then back from the overview, I can switch between the different desktops that I have. Okay. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, it shows you some swipe gestures here and here. And that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Now, one thing you'll want to do after installing Fedora or any Linux or any operating system really is make sure you have the latest updates, because those can include security updates and you want to make sure you have those. Luckily in Fedora, it's very easy. Just click the activities button here, or you can press the super key and then click here on software. And what you'll want to do is go to the updates tab. And as you can see, there are already some updates available, even though we've just installed this system. Unless you're using a rolling release of Linux, that's going to always be the case. So in our case, all we need to do is click restart and update, and that will automatically download the updates and install them for you. So that wasn't so hard, was it? We've installed Fedora Linux, set up our user account, and we're in a working, fully beautiful desktop in less than 5 minutes. Pretty good. So that wasn't so bad. In 5 minutes, we've downloaded Linux distribution, burnt it to a pen drive, and then in another 5 minutes, we installed it, configured our user accounts, and even installed updates. Not bad for 10 to 15 minutes of work. Now, of course, installing Linux is just the first step. If you're new to the system, you might want to take some time to explore the desktop, see what software comes pre-installed, look at the settings panel, and configure the system to your liking. I'm going to be doing videos just like that, covering the basic stuff I've mentioned and setting up your online accounts. But I'm also going to do some more advanced videos like connecting an Elgato Stream Deck, getting your lighting set up, installing Microsoft Office on Linux, and loads of other stuff that only advanced people know how to do, but that's only because nobody shows the beginners how, and that's my mission. So if you don't want to miss upcoming videos, be sure to subscribe, and if you've liked this video, be sure to leave a like, because it really does help a lot. Well, I'll catch you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.